found one. Patrick Kelly went to South Yorkshire to collect a Ford cargo lorry. He was followed there and back and observed arriving at this piece of waste ground in West London. By this time, both police and MI5 officers believed a bomb attack was just days away, and the surveillance involving 250 officers had become increasingly sophisticated. Listening devices were placed at the Premier West Hotel and in the car driven by Diarmuid O'Neill.
606. It's all right, parking. It's now moving towards the main, unsighted. Fine.
Spotlight has obtained a copy of a series of secretly recorded conversations between Diarmuid O'Neill and Patrick Kelly. This is the first time they've been broadcast. Here, Diarmuid O'Neill explains how he will wire a bomb.
If one bloke goes missing, we'll still get the fucking job done. But you build the wire to hop with that? Yeah. So the way he was going to wire it, you see, is different to the way he was going to make a one massive 8-ton bomb originally. That's because he was told wrong information. Yeah. So now the way it's been done now, I'll be able to wire it. I've got a few engineers and captains.
In a later conversation, the pair talk about how they would open fire on police officers if they were stopped.
Well, we have to whack the two of them, and then they'll have no ID. We'll have a little bit of breathing space. We'll have 3 or 4 hours breathing space. Well, the cops do, because we have to have the weapons out and ready to fucking roll and investigate. Yeah. Overload. Like I say already, there's 2 policemen here on the front, you know, it's 4 o'clock. You can just come out and roll a fucking to it. Shoot it up. And if there's another turn out in the car, we go out and fucking drill him and all and fuck off. It's just dust.
To listening officers, the tape simply reinforced their belief that they were dealing with dangerous terrorists. With a lorry now in place, the Metropolitan Police Anti-Terrorist Unit felt they had to act quickly. A series of briefings were held to establish the best way to arrest gang members. One option was to stop them at the storage yard at Hornsey. That was regarded as too risky because members of the public could be injured if a gun battle ensued. There were also concerns that a stray bullet could ignite the explosives inside.
Tailgate has been dropped, i.e. so you can stand on it, and he's opened the shutters in the back. The tailgate is down like a step, so he stepped up from the ground onto the tailgate and is now at the back of a van with the shutter open as whistled to.
Stopping the IRA unit as they left the yard was also regarded as too dangerous. Instead, it was decided to arrest 3 of the gang members at the Premier West Hotel and the other at his home address. The raids were to be carried out by SO19, the Metropolitan Police's elite firearms unit. 90 minutes before they went into action, they were briefed at their headquarters at Old Street. The arresting team were shown a video of the Canary Wharf explosion and given details of the men they were about to arrest. They were warned that they could come under fire. It was also decided to use rip gas, a type of CS gas never used in London before. But some officers didn't bring their respirators. Shortly after 4:30 in the morning, a fleet of backup vehicles, including an ambulance, was parked close to the hotel. And then a team of armed officers moved in. They got through the main entrance and then arrived outside room 303, where Brian McHugh, Patrick Kelly and Diarmuid O'Neill were sleeping. Using court transcripts, surveillance pictures and an actual recording of the raid, we have reconstructed what happened next. The operation went wrong from the start. One officer tried a duplicate key card which would access the hotel room, but it didn't work. So a battering ram was used to try and break the lock, but it bounced off and made a hole in the door. By now, any element of surprise had disappeared. Outside, 5 rip gas pellets were then fired in through the bedroom window. Inside, another 5 gas cartridges were fired into the room. Diarmuid O'Neill was closest to the door. At this point, officers overcome by gas left the building, gasping for air. Diarmuid O'Neill was shot 6 times. He was unarmed. As the surveillance footage shows, he was carried out by 3 officers. As they brought him out, his head hit one of the steps. He was bleeding heavily, but still alive. When officers searched the room, no weapons or explosives were found. They arrested Brian McHugh and Patrick Kelly. McHugh had been behind O'Neill during the shooting, and Kelly had been in the bathroom. O'Neill was placed on the pavement and was given first aid. Just over 20 minutes later, he was placed in an ambulance which had originally been parked around the corner. He was taken to Charing Cross Hospital, where he died. As the operation at the hotel was taking place, James Murphy was arrested at these flats in Chelsea. For the police, it marked the end of Operation Tinnitus, and in December 1997 at the Old Bailey, the gang were sentenced. Brian McHugh was given 25 years for conspiring to cause explosions. Patrick Kelly received 20 years and James Murphy 17 years. For the police, the operation meant that they had thwarted a major bombing campaign and prevented the deaths of members of the public. The policeman who shot Diarmuid O'Neill has only been identified by his codename, Kilo. This is his version of events.
Through the smoke of the gas, I could see a figure standing at the door. The room he was in was dark. I did not have good vision as my eyes were now streaming. This figure wasn't reacting to anything I said. He said nothing. His body language appeared aggressive because his upper body was leaning towards me. I couldn't see his hands and his arms appeared to be down. I'd feared for my life. I was in imminent danger. He had plenty of time to pick up a weapon. I was unable to back off. I knew that colleagues to my right might be in danger. I was illuminated. He wasn't. I was in total fear for my life. I had given him several orders to show his hands outside the door. I had nowhere to go, so I moved towards him, firing 2 shots. I felt as if nothing had happened, because the figure was in exactly the same position. He had not moved. I thought I had missed, so I fired a further 2 pairs of shots from my MP5. My torch beam was on, but it was being dissipated by gas. I pushed the figure backwards into the room.
The last-minute decision to use rip gas may have contributed to the fatal consequences. Officer Kilo left his respirator in the van, and without it, as he has admitted, his vision was impaired. Diarmuid O'Neill's family believed the use of gas led to his death.
There was no need. There was people asking him to open the door, telling him to show his hands. There's people firing CS gas. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It just creates chaos, you know? There was no need for it.
Was it a mistake to use the gas in such large quantities?
No, I don't think it was, because I think it was usually important to disorientate the terrorists as far as you could. There are downsides to every action you take. It was suggested, for instance, that the police could have shot the lock off or the hinges off. That in itself was dangerous because anyone on the other side of the door was likely to have been hit indiscriminately.
Officer Kilo maintains he opened fire because he believed his life was in danger. Although he couldn't see properly, he insists Diarmuid O'Neill's whole body language suggested he was holding a weapon. He said O'Neill was bristling and standing in a classic boxer stance, and although he couldn't see his hands, he believed he was presenting a serious threat.